It's Friday and you've tuned into MyStockScanner Live. Before we head into the weekend, let's see which stocks are closing the week strong with quality, upside, and timing. That's the three-point playbook way, and we have a portfolio that we invest to those rules. That portfolio we open on Mondays. That's one of our sort of premier points on Monday, but I can give you a sneak peek. The portfolio sits at 31.49%. That investment tool, which it is the results of these two gents' work, Liam Flavel and Hans-Henrik Nielsen. Good to see you guys. Liam, tough day on the market yesterday in that sense that we had a close shave on some of the stocks. Some had bigger shaves than others, but still the portfolio only dropped 0.74%, I think it was. Why is
It
that?
did. Well, just on shaves, I think I had a closer shave today than you did. But
True.
the portfolio, we're diversified. That's what diversification is about. It saves you from the big losses. And if one stock goes up by 20%, you might miss out on a bit of that, but it means we can sleep well at night.
And the thing is that with the diversification is that we're not too tied to one stock. So we're not doing like 100% investment in, for example, Bavarian and Hans-Henrik. In that sense, that would have been an awful sleep last night because, come on, 21% down because the bid on the stocks from an investment company was retracted. Well, were you surprised by that drop?
I was not surprised about the drop. I hadn't heard that they were retracting the offer, but the drop was not surprising. I'll get back to that later today.
And still, this is our first week in, can you say, broad public streaming broadcast, if we should use an extreme long word. So we will take things slow and we will try to explain as much as possible to the new viewers that we have coming in. We're going to be talking about, of course, how the three-point playbook, what it is and how it works. And as Hans-Henrik said, more about Bavarian later in the show today. We'll also be talking Zealand Pharma, also that also took a downturn yesterday, about half the size of what Bavarian did. We will look to Sweden and talk AstraZeneca, and then somebody had their payday yesterday. The guy who's on your screen dancing $1 trillion, and his name rhymes with Tusk, and we will get to him later. And then we could ask if that's intelligent choice or an idiotic choice by the stockholders giving him that kind of money. I know Hans-Henrik is looking forward to answering that question. But we, of course, also have something on the show because it's Friday called the Face Off. It's the Friday Face Off where we pit two stocks against one another. And you guys, I'll tell what those two stocks are in a minute. But first, we have a number of the day, and it's not 1 trillion because that would have been too easy to guess for you out there watching the show. The number is 47,000. I'll help you this much that it's people. I'll tell what kind of people those are at the end of the show. But let's get into it right from the bat. Here we go. There is a reason why we pitted those two against, because they kind of met up at the White House with Trump, not because he was ordering pills from them. I don't think so. I don't know so. I haven't seen him lose that kind of weight. But Hans-Henrik Liam story yesterday after night was, of course, that they signed, should we say, an agreement or terms on what prices should be of pills in the US coming from these two major companies.
It was something about a drop of 1,500% in the prices, wasn't it?
That's what he promised. That's not what he delivered.
No.
Yeah. No, they the two companies agreed to reduce down the price of their weight loss drugs to US consumers. Whether that affects the rest of the world as well, nobody knows at the moment. There's not a huge amount of detail on what's going on, but I know in the UK at least, I think Novo put up their prices by 35% for people who are existing users of the product. So it's quite a big deal. But actually, that was still cheaper than the US versions, the product that people get of Mounjaro, and so yeah, it's quite a big deal. There's a lot of money going into that particular product.
But if we look at those two companies against one another, is one on the beneficial side of this, or is one on the losing side with an agreement like this?
I think, to be honest, we've got a clear winner. Let me just share my screen. Eli Lilly has come out of this on top of the game right now. If we look at an analysis that we'll do on here, so we've got the 3-point playbook, and that asks 3 very basic questions. Is Eli Lilly a quality stock? Is it undervalued? And is now a good time to buy it or not? So on the first of these questions, the platform actually gives us, anyone can work out whether it's quality stock. There are metrics that we show you, and you get this information from everywhere. What we try and do with our playbook page for Eli Lilly is to give you a really quick overview, so you can sort of make a decision within about 20 seconds on whether this is a quality stock or not. And basically, green is your friend on here. You can see our quality score is 99 out of 100, so it's one of the top quality scores on the system for America. The earnings per share was relatively flat, and then it's shot up, and that was because of the introduction of Mounjaro and the weight loss drug there. We've got other factors like the PEG ratio is in the green, and that tells us how much of that future rise is priced into the current price, and a low number means it's not. And the other metrics are all similarly very, very green. The only thing that's slightly in the red is the price to free cash flow, because it is based on the free cash flow that's generated. So the actual cash that's generated dollar for dollar within the company, it's looking a little bit expensive, but everything else looks absolutely fine. So from a first question, the answer is a big yes, a big fat yes, actually, ironically, for Mounjaro. But and then if we move down to the second point, let's just flip across to the valuations tab here. We can see that actually the company, we've got 3 different lines. So you've got the green line, which is the bull line here, which is where we think the stock could go if it hits everything out the park. It makes every single right decision, luck falls its way, everything just works for it. And then we've got the downside, the red line is the bear line, which is what's the worst case scenario that we can dream up. The stock hasn't got down to this level for quite a while, so actually we could probably just pull these lines up here, and the base case is where we think the stock is going to go. Actually, in our actual heart of hearts, okay, a good result would be this, and we can see we're going to start ignoring this year's numbers because actually the stock's pretty much there. People are starting to look over here, and we can see that with Eli Lilly, you got a 36% upside at the best and a 8% downside at the worst. So it's a really, really strong opportunity.
And just because there is 4 lines, it's not because that you're Irish and can't count that that there's a 4th line in the yellow one, which is the analyst line. If you're looking at our stream at the moment,
and we see this a lot where the analysts actually look like they might have got it wrong. Now, sometimes there's a good reason why they're lower than the numbers that we come up with, and we need to investigate that. And other times it's just they've mispriced it. The average sort of analyst doesn't think it's going to go that well. So in this case, we can see from an opportunity point of view, the MTIs, which tell us the momentum of the stock, and the daily and the weekly down here are in the green. They've recently turned green, and the stock had pretty good earnings. It missed by 2.5%, I think, on its earnings, but the market's forgiven it. It's above its 50-day moving average. This green line here, it's above the 200-day. It's a buy.
It's a buy. See, now it's not a coincidence that the positive sides are green, and it's not a coincidence that Liam is Irish. So of course he has a taking to the green. The red, however, that's negative. But Hans Henrik, we can't. It's a face-off. We can't just let Liam and Eli Lilly run away with it all. What about Novo?
Yeah, well, Novo, I'll not spend too much time on it. I did an article today on the website called The Face Off, funny enough. Novo is also a good quality company. Earnings per share and revenue is going up, but Eli Lilly has a lot more momentum here. If we look at the margins and the return on capital, Novo is actually a bit better than Eli, but the difference is that they are tilting down. Their margins, their margins are going up slightly. Eli Lilly's is just going straight up. Return on capital is falling with Novo Nordisk, where with Eli Lilly, they are trending up. We like the uptrends here. When we look at this, you can see it has been a hard time being a Novo investor. And if analysts are right, it's hard to set the right PE numbers here, but I try to go a bit in depth with it in the article, how we can work around that. potentially there is a larger upside in Novo, but that means they should turn things around. And right now, on the pricing side here, it's just going in the right direction. Today, right now, they're below 300, and we are never buying a falling knife like this.
And as you said, there's a big article up on our platform where you can dive into all the numbers and see more about it and what you guys are talking about here. But yeah, the thing is, we have plenty of news on the horizon here. We're not even going to go into the fight that Novo is in at the moment, where it's going. We will, of course, keep you updated on our social media and on our platform if things and news should happen. But it is Friday, so I thought that we should dance a little bit, because somebody definitely have a reason to dance. I don't know if AI did him justice or injustice. I'm not really sure about that. And one thing I'm sure about is there's clearly not enough money in that little video that I showed there, because a payday of $1 trillion. I said that I would ask the two of you, and probably mostly Hans, stockholders idiotic or are they intelligent?
Can I just jump in before he starts? I'm going to do my Wordle now. I'm just going to listen. So yeah.
All right. First of all, I know people have they're busy saying this is insane, and yes, the number in itself is insane. But he's not just getting that on a paycheck. He needs to meet a bunch of milestones. And to be honest, if you ask me, I don't think they will get there. Not in my lifetime. But maybe history will prove me wrong. This is from our what we have every morning called the market scan on the website, where I try to be clever on a bunch of different things. And today, one of them, of course, is Tesla's milestone for his payment. And as we can see, there's a lot of market cap milestones. And you could say today they have a market cap of $1.5 trillion. And the final payout to Elon Musk is if he gets them to a market cap of $8.5 trillion. So you could argue and say, all right, if he can make them $7 trillion extra, then why not pay him $1? That could be argued. Another thing is he need to meet a lot of milestones out here. 20 million vehicles delivered. I think that is doable. 10 million active FSD, full self-driving subscriptions, also doable. Where things starts to get a bit hard is 1 million robots delivered. People tend to hear those humanoid robots, but basically Liam have started talking about his cars with software like driving robots. So I'm not sure if he'll try to squeeze that in under there. But getting to this 1 million robot taxis in commercial operation, that is simply not going to happen. And that might bite me later, but today they have 20 robotaxis in Austin driving around in a geofenced area, and they have a hard time keeping track of them. Waymo, on the other hand, their competitor, is taking 1.5 million rides, completely full self-driving per month. So I don't see him getting that trillion, but maybe he'll find some way around it.
And Henrik, I'm going to ask you to bring the 3-point playbook up on Tesla, because that, again, one thing is, of course, that all these milestones that he needs to hit and stuff like that. But as an investor, you're sitting out there. I know that you ponied up a lot of money now for one guy. Is there anything investing in Tesla if we look at the numbers that we use in our playbook?
Well, first of all, Tesla is not a terrible company. A lot of people think that I think that just because I'm critical towards Elon, but I actually don't think Tesla is a terrible company. We can see that their revenue is set to go up and their return on capital have been dwindling a bit. One of the things, and I'm just going a bit of nerdery here, but there's something called margins. That is how large a percent of the overall revenue that ends up as earnings. And in the beginning, the story was that Tesla should cost a ton of money because they have the world's largest earnings on cars. They don't have that anymore. Those margins are dwindling because there's so much competition. Looking at the value chart, now this one is not right. Our system here is suggesting PEs between 175 and 263. That is just about 10-15 times as much as any other car company. If that should go down, and here I'm just playing around with the numbers saying how much would the investors be willing to pay for each dollar of profit? If that goes down to just fairly reasonable amounts, we could see that there's simply no way Tesla should be profitable as an investment. That doesn't mean Tesla can't go up. It's just a matter of people being willing to pay an insane amount in what is called price earning.
See, now let's take away from basically our look towards other countries and other companies and kind of swing back home again. We were talking in the intro about that Bavarian took a huge dive yesterday, and the reason for it was, of course, the investment company that gave an offer to the stockholders. Basically, in the first round, they turned it down, and now they retracted the offer. The fall of 21%, Hans Henrik, I'm going to stay with you because you were surprised. Is it fair?
Yeah, I didn't see that they were retracting it, but that would be that was an option. The thing is that the price was laying around down here, and then this offer came in at what was it, 230 something, and then they talked about hiking that to, was it 250, I think. But the price have just been hovering around here because that's normal to do when there is a fixed price offer. People say we want to pay this per share. Okay, then no one is going to trade it up in higher numbers. And now they retracted that because basically the shareholder didn't want to sell at that. They thought that was way too cheap. They wanted 300 or above. So they actually voted against it and said, we don't want this fund to come in and take over. And that means the second they retracted their offer, it just went down to the normal price it was before. So there's not really any shock in that. I know some people are trying to say that is massive, that is an overreaction. It's not really. It's just going back to a situation where there's no big buyer trying to get in.
Yeah, and there's a song where there's a song line that says "back to reality," and basically that's what just checked in here. That was just reality.
Oh yeah,
on Bavaria.
but there's no doubt that investors are still thinking that at some point it should move up here because they think it's worth more. I have no idea if it is, but that is what they hope for.
In that sense, I won't call it a little sister or anything because they're not related at all. We have to look at another Danish stock that took a dive yesterday. Zealand, I don't know if it caught a cold or it got COVID or whatever happened to it, but it definitely sneezed and it dropped close to 11%. Is that related to, of course, it's not related to Bavarian, but it's related to what's going on with Novo Nordisk?
Yeah, it's more related to Eli Lilly actually, but then again also to Novo Nordisk. But that was because Eli Lilly came out with some fairly good numbers. There's something said about it here. They had some experimental drug that had some good weight loss numbers. And in this business, where especially with Zealand Pharma, that don't really have a real product out there yet, they are extremely sensible to when a competitor comes out saying we have a massively good product, because then investors get scared and say, okay, then maybe Zealand cannot produce there or sell as many products as we hope for. So Zealand was riding on what I would call the Novo wave up here. And then they have been riding down on the Novo wave again. And yesterday they simply got a hit because Eli Lilly did better.
The interesting thing with those guys is it's not a GLP-1, so it's not the same technology.
No,
as the
it's not
ones. It's
completely.
It's an insulin sort of co-antibody, or no, it's not an antibody.
It's it's another hormone they are working with in the body on this. And if that goes through, that is really exciting for Zealand Pharma. But competition is fierce.
I'm going to say I'm glad that Liam chipped in here because in that sense that Liam, I thought that you were basically gone from the show, but
I have done my wordle now though, so I'm open to suggestions on what we can talk about now.
I'm happy about that because the thing was that I'm going to give you the ultimate impossible task: choose between Zealand and Bavarian.
It's very, very easy because, you know, one's much better than the other, and it's a little company called AstraZeneca.
Okay, you're not gonna. There's a lot of Danes that's not gonna be happy about that. But give a few reasons. You open the 3-point playbook on it.
Yeah, but these are Swedish, so they're next door neighbours. Sure, you'll be nice to them about that, won't you?
Nah.
You look at it. The other great thing about this is obviously it's dual listed in London, so that automatically gives it that aristocratic air. You can see the green on the point one of the playbook page that we've got here. Everything is looking in the right direction. Even the price free cash flow is below the 35.40 that we often like. It's a high quality company. What's not to like? The only slight downside, the analysts have been a little bit negative, but only by a few half points of a percent. So nothing to worry about there. On the valuation chart, I would say, we're going to ignore the December figures coming up soon. We're looking at between 26% top end, if everything goes right, maybe 22.4, and a downside of -5. So that means we often look for the downside or the upside to be twice or 3 times as much as the downside. This is about 4.5 times. So that just means the odds are stacked in our favor when we're playing in this casino that can be the investing world. So that if we're wrong, we're not too wrong, which is great.
Okay, Liam, I'm gonna pop your bubble here because there's also a story out that AstraZeneca, as a matter of fact, is moving to the New York Stock Exchange.
Didn't you? Yeah. I mean, the thing is, London is becoming more and more irrelevant. They haven't been able to get the big names. They haven't been able to attract the capital. The capital is in America. Why wouldn't you follow that? So it's a completely sensible decision.
But still, out of those 3 that we had here as our big pharma day almost, you definitely went with that one. And the number of the day is related to, I said it was 47,000 people in the beginning of the show. That's the number of employees that Eli Lilly have. Comparison is that 76 or 77,000 people, depending on the day, I think, for Novo. Pfizer, 81,000. AstraZeneca and Bayer, by the way, have 94. Biggest of them all is Johnson & Johnson. 138,000 people are working for them. See, we're almost at the end of the week. We're almost at the end of the show here, which means that this week was a huge earnings season. We still missed the big kahuna, and they're just going to wait a little bit. They're coming on the 17th of November, if I'm not mistaken. That's, of course, is NVIDIA that we're going to be looking into. Next week, I won't say it's boring because we get numbers from Sony, CoreWeave. We have also some Danish companies amongst them. We have FL Smith and Lundbeck coming up, but we also have companies from abroad, Tencent, Baba, Disney, Siemens, and a couple of other companies. Liam, if I ask you, is there anything sticking out, anything you'll be looking to next week?
There's less about tech in the next few weeks. I'm really looking forward to the NVIDIA earnings. I think they'll be pretty strong because I put an article out yesterday on the tech side of things saying, talking about the lifespan of semiconductors that NVIDIA and all the AI chips are producing, and it's not very long. So there's a huge amount of money just going to standing still, let alone increasing their capacity. So that's the big one that I'm really interested in.
Yeah. The chips are having a slightly longer live time than the messages for Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, where it kind of self-destructs at one point. It's a little longer with chips, we have to say that, to be fair.
We'll give it a year, but
yeah, we'll give it a year, but to take into consideration, a little more expensive, I think. Hans Henrik, I know that you never take time off. So I know that you'll be working already on your weekend wrap that comes out on Sunday. Anything that you know that you're going to put in the weekend wrap that is available on our platform?
Oh, yes, definitely. We don't get any job numbers from US right now. NFP numbers should have hit today. That is a big thing. That is the one that we really look forward to. Didn't come up because the US still is shut down, and Mike Johnson indicated it could go on until 1st of January, actually. So what I will be mentioning there is some layoff numbers, meaning how many people are being fired in US. And yesterday we got the numbers from October, and they were the largest in 22 years for October. It was worse than in the financial crisis. I don't know if you can guess it, but that's not good. And I'll try to extrapolate a bit on that.
And that's going to be the weekend wrap that will show up on your doorstep. I was almost going to say on Sunday, because, well, Hans Henrik is never ever taking time off. I don't know if Liam's going to take time off. I'm glad that you're not called Danny, because then I would have to sing Danny Boy because it's your birthday today. But congratulations, Liam. I'm glad that you're finally allowed to drink beer in public now because you're finally over 18. So
My daughter
cheers.
sent me a message today. She's in Thailand. She said, "I strive to be like you, just less bald."
I think that she. That sounds good. That's the Friday edition of My Stock Scanner Live. End your week with clarity, confidence, and smarter picks. Remember, find our articles in depth on our platform on Facebook. Check them for tips on investments from Hans Henrik and Liam's. And if you have any questions for us, do send them to us. Use FOMO at mystockscanner.com. And guys, I'll see you on Monday when we open up the 3-point playbook portfolio. I'm looking forward to it. Have a good one.
You too.